and welcome to Podcast First Player, episode 128. I'm one of your hosts, Cal, and as always, I'm joined by a man who's had someone pouring gravy over his allotment the last few nights. The plot thickens. It's only bloody Dan.
I love thick gravy, me.
I like thick gravy, actually.
I can't deal with these people who have just like a brown puddle on like a Sunday roast or something.
Yeah, I hate when you go somewhere, whether it's to somebody's house or you go to like a restaurant or a pub or something and have Sunday dinner, and then they put gravy on and it's literally like one thin layer bang in the middle and it's not even touching the shit on the outside.
Yeah.
I like a lot of gravy.
Love gravy. It's always got to be there, but it's always got to be the right kind of consistency, which is why I prefer to make my own rather than let someone else go for it.
So we make some nice gravy.
Has it got meat juices in it?
What she makes me and Logan, yeah.
Oh.
She has her own.
That's how you do it properly.
To be fair though, some of the vegetarian shit ain't too bad. Like that hasn't got meat juices in.
Yeah.
But only if they've got onion.
Well, onion gravy, that's your like turkey and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, if you buy it like with that's used with meat. Juices, is that right?
Yeah,
Sounds
that's
weird.
right.
Sounds
no,
weird.
That's absolutely right.
All right. But some of them was all right. And do you know what I had last Christmas for the first time in about 15 years? It's not gravy, but it's condiment related.
Cranberry sauce?
No, bread pudding.
I don't know if I've ever had that.
I love bread pudding.
I can't recall it.
So nice.
Then why have you waited 15 years to have it?
Because I don't cook. I ask if I go to a carvery or something, and I'll go, "Oh, is that bread pudding?" They'll go, "No, it's horseradish." I'll go, "Fuck you, you're teasing."
Horseradish, horse shit.
Yeah, I hate horseradish. I like to eat a horseradish.
What, raw?
No, not a horseradish. What am I thinking of? What's the little red one?
A radish.
Just a radish.
Yeah.
What's a horseradish then?
It's like a root.
Oh.
But it's like a billion times stronger.
Oh, fuck that then. Yeah, no, just normal radish is just enough.
Yeah, radish is fine, but horseradish on a nice beef sandwich. Maybe a smidge of mustard on there as well. Ooh.
I don't like mustard either.
Oh man, your taste buds must be fucked up.
I think my biggest hatred for mustard though is I remember when I was really young, I came down on a Sunday and there was some out like on the table like ready for lunch and I was like, peanut butter. And it wasn't peanut butter, it was a mustard. And I don't like spicy food either.
French mustard?
I don't know who made it, but
it must have been brown, otherwise it would have been like yellow.
It was like a brownie yellow. Like a dog that's like been ill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's like the French mustard. It's not as bad. It would kill a kid, absolutely.
But I don't like spicy food though.
It's not your Coleman's mustard, like, grow some new pubes level of hotness.
Is that when you hit puberty? You just like inhale some mustard?
Yep, I did it in a restaurant when I was 12 years old.
You went in, he was like 4 foot, and he came out, he was like 6'7".
Yeah, and I was doing that thing where you shake the waiter's hand, but you've got a fiver in there as well. So it's just like, thanks for the service, mate.
So like one little hair hanging out your chin. That's the exact opposite of my puberty. I went backwards.
Were you born with...
I was like Benjamin Button.
Oh God. So you came out with beard and pubes.
Yeah.
And then they just slowly...
Anyway.
No. Okay.
If anyone cares, if you've made it this far, this episode is brought to you by Blueberry. Blueberry is a premier podcast hosting service, and with Podcast First Player, you can get 1 month absolutely free. Simply go to blueberry.com and use promo code PvP to start your podcast adventure today. Now then, Dan.
Yes.
This week's news is news that you showed me and then proceeded to just shit yourself for about 20 minutes.
Yeah. To be fair, I'm still kind of pooping a little bit. So this is the news that in Las Vegas, which I assume was the what's it called, Star Trek
Trekathon.
Yeah, it's the expo thing that I went to. I can't remember what it's called now, but I went to the one in London. But they do it in Las Vegas, which I think is the main one. Like, that's where everybody goes, sort of thing. Yeah, all your cast and crew and stuff are there. They did one in Berlin, I think, and
possibly
one in London. And it was the first one that they did in London that me and friend of the show Rick, me and Rick went down there. I've probably talked about this before. But when we were going there, Jonathan Frakes was supposed to be going as a guest. He was sort of like, sorry?
He plays number 2, doesn't he?
Number 1, but yes, he's
number
the second
1,
in command.
Yeah, the second in command.
Number
Riker.
2 is Data, but yes, Riker is absolutely right.
That's so good.
Well done. So he was supposed to be there. So there was like Will Shatner and like most of the Next Gen crew, but then Jonathan Frakes was going to be like, wow, Will Riker's going to be there, awesome. And then there was an announcement, and they were just like, oh, sorry, Jonathan Frakes isn't going to be able to make it. However, we've got a standing guest of Sir Patrick Stewart, and we were just like, what? It was like, so we've just gone from going, cool, there's going to be Q, and there's going to be the Doctor from Voyager, and Data and Worf and everybody, but now Patrick Stewart's going as well. It's just like, oh my god. So the hype train just went fucking ballistic after that. And so, we went down there, we saw him, and he was very nice to us. I dressed up as in a suit to meet him because, as I may have mentioned to you actually, there was 2 reasons that I wanted to get into acting when I was a kid. The 2 main sort of pushes for me to doing performing arts. For the comedy side of things, Rowan Atkinson, because he's the fact that he can do a complete visual performance and have people rolling about laughing without saying a fucking word, it's a testament to just being. It's like that sort of Rick Mail, like they know that they can just pull a certain face in a certain way and people will lose their minds, right?
Yeah.
And it was astounding, like watching something like Mr. Bean, and the fact that it's globally loved and it doesn't need translating. Like, you don't need to remake it. You don't, like, The Office is like one of the best shows that's ever been made from England, but then it's been also translated into 40, 50 different countries or something, in different languages. They've remade their own version of it, whereas Mr. Bean, you don't need to. No one needs a reboot of it. It's still as hilarious now as it was then. So he's sort of, the way he was just funny for being funny, and he could like do slapstick and stuff like that, and timing was amazing. But then the second reason was Patrick Stewart, and it's because he's got such a commanding voice, and he can stand on a stage, or he can stand on a set, and he just controls that whole room. Like he just stands there. He's loud, proud, and he doesn't move. It's just his delivery, and its power, and it's meaningful, and it's something that always blew me away. It's especially obviously in Star Trek as well. But I think what's it called? The YouTube channel that does the honest trailers. That's it.
Yeah.
On the, I think it was like the 30th anniversary of Star Trek: The Next Generation, they did a special for honest trailer for like the whole of the Next Generation.
Yeah.
And they were just like, it's all obviously it's all in good fun, but it was just like, it's sort of like the wacky effects, crazy aliens, and like far better acting than this show should be entitled to. And then it's just like all these clips of like these incredibly serious kind of moments. Like, funnily enough, I was actually watching an episode yesterday where there was a guy who was trying to save his planet. Like, the sun. So if you imagine on our terms, our sun in a few million years is going to go out. It just runs out of life, basically. And his planet's sun had about 40 years left before it would just go out. And they weren't willing to, because, they're a fairly reclusive kind of race. So they didn't want to reach out and try and get help from anybody else. And they didn't really want to relocate. So all of the eggs for that sort of race were in this guy's hands. It was in his basket, and it was up to him to try and restart the sun. Think that film, Sunshine or whatever it is. When they have to restart the sun because it's going.
I don't think I've seen that.
I can't remember if it's Sunshine. I think it might be, because basically it's like, again, it's in the future and the sun's just sort of running out of steam and we're suffering as a consequence. So he, like, they test this thing, and he's like, I need to try and sort this out in my lifetime. Because on his planet, they have a customary ritual suicide. So
All right.
when you hit 60 years old, everyone would just kill themselves. So as soon as you hit 60, they don't want people to suffer through ailments and old age, and they don't want to be a burden on their children, who it's their job to support and love them, not the other way around. So there's this whole thing. So Deanna Troi, Deanna, she's like the empath. Like, her mother is just like this super exuberant, full of life, older lady. And it's like, there's just this scene in it where just there's this guy and this woman, like, one who's just like, no, this is ridiculous. Of course you can't do that. You can't just go back and kill yourself. Like, by the time that the other scientists sort of catch up with your thinking, it's going to be too late. And then they'll have killed themselves as well. You need to go back there and you need to change all of this. And it was just... but you're talking about things like, morals and suicide and, care for the elderly. And then I was watching another one today where Data makes an android and he calls her his daughter. And he, it's the sort of like, let her choose. Bear in mind, this is all in the 80s. Obviously, we're in a much different time now, but he was just like, she's genderless, she has no appearance. I'm going to let her decide that for herself. I mean, I'm calling her because I don't know what to call her.
But it was played by a girl, though, wasn't it?
It was played by a woman, yeah.
She kissed Riker.
She did indeed.
See? I'm on fucking Star Trek fire.
You are. And, I mean, it seems to just be purely around Will Riker, but I'll take it. But again, it addresses these kind of things, and no one really does this better than Patrick Stewart, because some of the things that you are saying, or you are doing, or you are supposed to be portraying, they're silly, obviously, or they're just sort of so out there. It's just like, no, okay, fair enough. But he delivers it as if this is the most important sort of role of his life, every single scene.
Well, to be fair, I think at the time, though, this had to be his biggest thing he did at the time.
Well, I mean, he was doing...
he was doing, like...
a lot of stage stuff.
Yeah, stage... Like, I don't know about Broadway, but...
No, it was like RSC. Yeah, exactly. But I want to say that he'd done a couple of films before he'd landed that gig. But, yeah, I mean, that's a role that will change your life, basically. So, he did that, and he's done a number of Star Trek films before he's then gone on to become a major sort of like Hollywood actor. And then in 2002 they did Star Trek Nemesis, which was the last film for the Next Generation cast, which was with Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
And in that, it was kind of a relatively nice but open-ended closure to that crew and that kind of series. So, spoiler alert, Data kills himself. He sacrifices himself to save the crew. But he'd like transferred his own mind into like another android, basically. So the kind of there's the open-endedness of, oh, is it still him? Is it not? Is it whatever? But that was it. So that, there wasn't like, they didn't all go down in a blaze of glory. They didn't all, sort of chin chin, and then it was just they'd finished that mission and they were just heading off. I think maybe the Enterprise was either going to be decommissioned or they were on their last mission. I can't really remember. It's been a while. It's not a great film, I'll be honest.
Not as good as First Contact.
It's really not, mate. It's really not.
It's a fucking excellent film. I don't even like Star Trek. I like Next Generation, and I could tolerate Voyager, but First Contact, just as a film on its own, was really good. It's because
it's and this is because I watched Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom today, right? And it's not very good. And like when I see things like First Contact, and I see things like The Terminator and Alien and Aliens, and it's these first things where they're very claustrophobic and it's almost like a horror film. Like, those are the things that are the most enticing about it. And as soon as you go from the first Terminator, where you're basically fighting like the equivalent of like a dream monster.
Yeah.
It's just like, you can't kill him. He'll never stop. He'll never eat. He'll never sleep. He's infinitely more intelligent, more strong. He's just an unstoppable thing, and there's nothing you can do to stop him. It's like one of, those, a monster that will chase you forever, and you can never get away. And then you've got like Terminator 3, where it's just like, oh god, just stop it, the pair of you.
Yeah.
Like, they just don't seem anywhere near as intimidating. And again, the Borg in First Contact were very scary bad guys, because they were relentless, and they would just consume, and they would just assimilate, and they would kill and maim, and they would do anything to get what they want. And again, that's a very scary kind of bad guy when you're going up against a hive mind who can't be reasoned with, because you can't beat them. And that's why that film was great, and I think that was one of his best performances, was in that film, without a doubt.
Yeah,
even though
they were all very good in that film.
Oh yeah, totally, absolutely, they were. But it was sad to see him finish in 2002. But it was one of these things where he's sort of like, as an actor, I think this has kind of run its course, and I don't really want to drag this on forever and ever. I want to do other things, and I don't think anyone can begrudge him. Once you've done something for like 20, 25 years, and you are ingrained in people's minds as being a certain person.
Even being in X-Men, though, like, I mean, even me, mate, I made the joke with, I think it was your Star Trek Online video, and I'd done 2 covers for it, and one cover was with actually you in a Star Trek uniform with the rest of the team, and then I did another one, and it's got Professor X in the corner. And it's, I think people only see Patrick Stewart as Picard and Professor X, nothing else.
Yeah,
I do, and the dad in Family Guy, but
well, no, the deputy director in American Dad, you mean?
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, he's not in Family Guy.
No.
Well, I mean, he is as himself, but
I apologise.
But like, but again, you can understand when someone says, it's like when Chris Eccleston said, "Oh, I don't want to be Doctor Who anymore. I don't want to be typecast as that person." It's just sort of like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but
like,
where's he?
He's done a couple of films, and he was in Thor. So I mean, that's pretty good going.
Was he in Thor?
He was the bloody Dark Elf in Thor: The Dark World.
I still can't picture him.
You know the main bad guy?
Yeah. I didn't know.
Yeah, that's him.
I didn't know that was Eccleston.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he's not even like covered in prosthetics or anything. It's just his face.
No, I'm saying I can't remember him.
But it's not a memorable film, so that doesn't surprise me at all. But he's now said, he put up a post. Again, this is why I was talking about Las Vegas earlier. I'm assuming that they had this convention.
Back onto this
in Las Vegas, but he's announced that he's accepted a contract with CBS, and he's going to be returning to the role of Jean-Luc Picard. Now, immediate thoughts are sort of like, oh god, are they going to put him in Discovery? How's that going to work? Like, Discovery is canon, but it's also 30 years. Well, it's about 100
something years, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about 100 and something years before. I mean, even if you wanted to have him as a lieutenant on the Stargazer, for example's sake, that would still be when he was a relatively young guy. So that would still be about 80 years into the future. But I mean, time travel's always a thing. I watched another episode today which had time travel in it, because it's just such an interesting thing, because it's just explained away. They just go, there's a temporal disturbance, and here comes a thing from the past, and you're like, all right, that's fine. It's space, like anything goes in space, because it's so far in the future and it's so far away from what we can expect. You can kind of just go, sure, maybe that's a thing that would actually exist, given the right kind of alien sort of
technology
vistas and the weird technologies and things. Maybe that's a thing. I mean, if you went back 200 years and said, here's a phone and you can call someone else on the other side of the planet with this and speak to them now, they'd be like, yeah, fuck off, that's ridiculous, of course you can't do that. You know, oh, we put a man on the moon. And they go, no, that's impossible, how does that even work? Like, there's things like that are theoretically not impossible. Like, you know, travelling faster than light. Again, it's almost impossible, but with the right kind of criteria, and you know, maybe in a few hundred years, it's not impossible. It's
impossible with our current technology. Well, not mine and yours. We've obviously already done it, but with our current technology that we're aware of, at least, it's impossible. But it's the kind of feat that, given the right circumstances, would easily be achievable. Not easily, I suppose, but
no, I mean it's one of those things that's just like it's a defining point.
Yeah,
like you know, the first time that a vehicle broke the sound barrier, the first plane, you know, the first space shuttle, the first submarine. You know, these sort of like milestones in technological achievement, and it's something that people will go for. Otherwise, when they go, okay, well, we broke the sound barrier, we'll never do that again, because why would we need to? People go, no, fuck that. You went at 730 miles an hour in a plane. Let's see if we can do it in a car. You know, Thrust SSC got the world land speed record of like, was it like 300 or 400 miles an hour or something? I can't remember exactly, but no, I'm pretty sure didn't they break the sound barrier?
We went to... This is related. It was Logan's birthday the other week, and we took him to the think tank in Birmingham.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a science museum. And there was 2 bits in it that was not really for kids, but the rest of it's for, like, showing you how the different parts of the body work, and the boats and shit like that. But then there was 2 bits... that was more for older kids than adults, and one was the planetarium. That was fucking awesome. That was really
I bet that is. Yeah.
And then the other bit was like learning about like locomotives and stuff,
Hmm.
which I thought he would have loved, because obviously it's trains. But then you go down to it, because you just walk around. You go down to it, and there's like nothing there for like kids. But and I can't remember any of it. But there's a big thing about the vehicle you're talking about that broke the sound barrier, and it wasn't done again for like another, I think it was 30 years or something, till they beat it.
But they haven't. Because I thought, I know that the sound barrier is about 730, 740 miles an hour. I've just had a quick Google though, but Thrust from 1997 does still hold the world land speed record of 763 miles an hour. Because
so it's a different one then, because the one I'm thinking of is from the 60s.
That's the most current one. So I'm assuming there was something beforehand which may have been 400 or 500 miles an hour maybe, and now they've beaten it.
Yeah, it must be. But they had a replica build of it.
No way.
And it was fucking awesome. It's proper cool.
Yeah, but that's the thing though, is that it'll never just be a case of, well, like, because I mean the team that are making Thrust, the team that made Thrust, they're making. Well, they have been for a few years actually. They made a new car called Bloodhound, I think it is.
Bloodhound.
I'm pretty sure it is the Bloodhound. But I think that's the next checkpoint for them is 1,000 miles an hour on land in a car.
It sounds,
which is unbelievably fast.
Well, I'm assuming it's gone from like 400 or 500. Now it's gone to 7. And then they can either aim for 9 or just push it and try and get like 1,000.
Well, I think 1,000 it's like a rounder.
That's what I mean.
Mark, isn't it?
It should be easier to go forward from that as well.
Yeah. But that's what I mean though. Like, there's always someone who wants to do something bigger, better, faster,
stronger.
And
Daft Punk.
Yeah. So someone's saying maybe we can actually create a wormhole, or we can accelerate something past the speed of light. Is it possible? Again, go back 200 years and say that we can get a car that can travel faster than sound. They'd be like, no, of course you can't, because you can only think on their terms.
Go back that long and say there's a car that can run on electric or...
What's electric?
Exactly.
What does electricity mean? I don't understand. Like, there's just a million concepts that you could go back and explain how a telephone works or the internet, and they'd go, I have literally no idea what you're on about. So I don't think it's an impossible task for us, for our lifetimes, without a doubt. But for the future, yeah, totally. I don't understand why it wouldn't be.
Well, there's already... I mean, I could be completely wrong, but if I remember rightly from a discussion I had with someone who I can't even remember who it was, so this might not have even happened, I might have dreamt this, but there is already a thing that can move like micro protons from one place to another.
The teleportation thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, that was a few years ago.
So it can't move like an apple or something like that. It's literally like a tiny, it's like nano thing.
They can move it faster than the speed of light. I can't remember the science behind it. I mean, there's one thing of remembering the science behind something. It's another to understand it.
Yeah.
But
I think
either way,
if I knew it, I wouldn't understand it.
No, not at all. But like it was something like, because I do vaguely remember this. It was something like they either accelerated it either to or past the speed of light, or what we believed was to be possible.
Yeah.
Or they teleported it, so they moved it from one location to another.
I think it was, again, could be completely wrong, but I think it moves so fast that it appears that it's teleported.
Well, I mean that's ultimately what the speed of light would be like. If you're doing it on Earth, I mean, because railguns, I'm pretty sure they accelerate something to almost the speed of light.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure, because I was watching something about the
Was it on
one
Star
that the
Trek?
American. No, I mean railguns are real.
I know.
I can't remember if it was one that either the Chinese or the Russians had. But I'm almost positive that they were saying, yeah, it fires like a missile, like not a missile, but like just a piece of metal, like so fast that it would just, it would obliterate anything it hits, basically.
Jeez.
Also, I was reading up on this project that the Americans were either working on or are working on or have given up on or whatever. But it was about these like hypersonic missiles. So they would go up into the atmosphere. And then they would sort of like go through space and accelerate, so they were going at like faster speeds than are possible, and then just go straight through the atmosphere like at the target.
Jesus.
But they were traveling at like I'm gonna have to just have a quick Google of it, because it just blew my mind. I think it was on. Here we are. Zircon, hypersonic cruise missile. Zircon can travel at a speed of Mach 5 to Mach 6, which is about 4,000 to 4,500 miles an hour.
Jeez.
Yeah. So the basically the point of it being is that nothing can stop it. So it says that the Royal Navy's surface-to-air missiles, which will like stop ballistic missiles and stuff, they are only capable of catching up to something and stopping it if it's flying at Mach 3. So basically, if one is launched and dropped, oh my god, in flight the missile is completely covered by a plasma cloud. The cloud absorbs any rays of the radio frequencies, making the missile invisible to radar.
That's insane.
I mean, that is terrifying. In April 2017, it was reported that Zircon had reached a speed of Mach 8 of 6,090 miles an hour during a test. 6,000 miles an hour. That makes me feel ill, because it's like you would get no warning. They would just and it would just wipe you out, and you wouldn't have a clue about it.
No, you'd be dead.
God damn.
That's scary.
But that's, that is the world we live in, I suppose.
Well, it is. Anyway, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, yeah. The Telegraph, Dan, today have said The series is it's not a Next Generation reboot, but it will tell the story of the next chapter of Picard's life.
Can you imagine if they said, we want to bring Patrick Stewart back as Jean-Luc Picard, he's 78 years old, and we're going to reboot the series?
Yeah, start from the beginning.
Like, CBS would be burnt down.
Yeah.
There is no way that you could ever try and reboot something like that. I mean, it's because of series like that they want to make films. They want to sort of generate new hype for it because it's so beloved.
Yeah. I think with this though, this is all but verbal or written confirmation that it's going to have nothing to do with Discovery.
Well, that's fine. I think it's fine for them to have two separate shows set in the same shared universe, 150 years apart. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No.
Obviously, the only difference being is that obviously the technology that's used in Discovery is very different from the rest of the shows.
Yeah.
So if this is going to be a further continuation, is it going to look very similar to how we last saw like the Enterprise E in Nemesis, or is it going to be all holograms and displays that come out of screen? That's the thing. It's sort of like which way do you go? So I don't even think they finished writing like a synopsis of it yet, let alone any scripts or anything. I think he's just confirmed that he's on board for 5 years.
I imagine the script's been done if he's signed up to do it.
I think that if they've just knowing. I mean, if they've just given him free reign, maybe, and they've just said, "Look, we want to do this." Discovery's people are liking Discovery, but they're not going mad for it. If you were to come back and lead a new show, though, it wouldn't make a difference if it was not too great, because seeing you back in the uniform on a bridge on a starship, people would go fucking ballistic for that alone.
Unless the next chapter of Picard's life is like he's opened up like a space cafe and
a greasy spoon in space. I'd be okay with that.
He just travels around in remember the Mr. Sizzle van that used to be in town?
Yeah.
He just it's like one of them, but it flies through space.
No, it's like the the Chinese restaurant in The Fifth Element that flies up to Corbin's window and then putters off. He's just got one of them basically, but it just serves Earl Grey tea.
That'd be a great show.
I'd watch
maybe
that.
Not, maybe not for Star Trek, but speaking of rest stop type things, I was coming back from my holiday the other day, and for about 4 miles there was signs like cafe up ahead. On your next left, there's a cafe, hot and cold food, eat in, take away. Literally miles. These different signs. Literally came up to it, closed. What the fuck? I didn't intend to go there, but because I was just staring out the window, I was just reading the signs as I was going past. When I got to it, I was like,
"It's going to be good, this cafe, when we finally get there."
Bag of shit. Anyway, I am actually quite excited for this, Dan. As a non-Star Trek fan, my favourite Star Trek series, a continuation of that, I'm on board for that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that the fact that obviously him and the cast and all that, it's a fairly, they do classify themselves as, it's a family. It's one of these sort of shows where, like Friends, I guess, you've done it for so long, you see these people every day for months and months and months on end. Eventually you kind of, you become inseparable. So, I mean, as long as he's got that kind of relationship, and the previous actors have got that kind of relationship with the studio still, I mean, the amount of cameos that could come into this, like, Picard running a bar, and all of his old mates kind of come in, and Klingons are coming in that he's pissed off years ago and try and batter him. Like, there's just so much potential. It's just, I'm really curious as to how they do it, because that's the interesting thing, because they've shown him as like an older man at the end of, I think it was at the end of the Next Generation, so he'd retired and he'd become an ambassador, I think.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that there's this weird time loop thing, and it's too complicated to try and explain. But he he's either becomes like an admiral or an ambassador, or he takes the next step after leaving the bridge. But I don't know, because there's something in Star Trek Generations, where he's talking to Captain Kirk, because like Kirk's just sort of like, oh, go in and shoot everyone and kiss all the girls, and Picard's like, no, we've got rules, and we've got to stick to them. And
I like your Picard voice.
That's. I mean, I'm going to play the younger version of him in
I can
in
see
this.
the resemblance.
Yeah, if they just said, do you want to be a flashback Picard? I'd be like, give me that razor. Give me that razor, I'll fucking get it all off
It's
now.
a flashback, you haven't got to be bald straight away.
He was, though.
From the very beginning?
He had thinner in hair when he was a cadet, because he had a picture of him in... I think it was an episode with Q, to be honest. I can't really remember.
I reckon he had an afro. or dreadlocks.
Yeah, maybe so, like a predator.
Yeah. Although, just irrelevant. Currently on the Telegraph still, and there's a picture of Patrick Stewart with the Borg Queen.
Oh yeah.
In First Contact, and underneath it's got Patrick Stewart brackets right with Alice Krieg in Star Trek First Contact. Like they had to. I wasn't sure which one was Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, is it the woman who's dressed as a robot, or is it the man who looks exactly like Patrick Stewart? For God's sake.
God almighty, bloody idiots.
I know. But I'd like to see him, sort of like, just him where he hasn't got that control and power anymore. Like where they're just sort of like, yeah, you don't have a ship anymore, and you're not flying around saving everybody and making first contact and going on all kinds of adventures and things. You're, maybe he just feels a bit useless.
Maybe.
Because like think about it. If you were like a, I imagine soldiers and stuff get it. You serve, you get a command, you serve with your troops, and then eventually they're just like, yeah, we don't need you anymore. You're too old. You can't keep up. You can't do everything else. Like, if that's your identity, if that's everything of every day that's been for like, because he doesn't have a family.
Yeah.
So after that's sort of gone, thanks for the service, thanks for the job, but you're too old, mate. You can't do it. You need to retire. Like, how does he kind of fill that time? Does he go seeking trouble and adventures, or does he just kind of relax but things come back to haunt him? That's the bit I'm curious about. Is to, they say that this is the next chapter, but what the fuck does that mean? Does he start his own company?
Yeah, but how long after Star Trek Nemesis is it?
That's an interesting point, because I'm pretty sure. Because Nemesis was 2002, so you're talking 16 years ago. So he would have been pushing 60 by that point, and he was still, stripping off to his shirt and die-harding everywhere. But like the beauty of it is because it's not, Arnie running around pretending to be the Terminator when he's 70 years old.
Yeah.
You can have someone who's 80 years old just sat in a chair shouting instructions.
Yeah.
Because that's, he's got everything in his brain, and he just tells everyone what to do, and he'll figure it all out, rather than you give him a gun and send him off into a jungle. So I mean, I'd like to think that it's sort of representative of our time. So it's still that guy, but it is 16 years later for him.
What if, say, he still works under Starfleet, but they give him like a desk job?
Well, that's ultimately what he did with the when he was an ambassador. I think he was the ambassador to Vulcan, I think. So it's just more sort of like, he was just settling disagreements, and it's the more sort of diplomacy side of things rather than the exploration side of things. So I mean, yeah, or you just say, well, we'll make him an admiral, and he can just point fingers and tell people what to do. But I mean, it opens it up for Kate Mulgrew as well, though. I mean, well, maybe not, because I mean, the pull of the show is the fact that it is, what's going to happen this week. Is it going to be a new monster? Are they going to go back in time? Is the holodeck going to take over this time?
Are they going to get transported to Sherwood Forest and
yeah, exactly.
Robin Hood?
They could just go, literally any idea you want, that's what we can do, and we'll think of some sciencey way of explaining it, or just go, oh, bloody protons and nebula stars and all this plasma cloud that we've just flown through. It's turned all of the ship's computers into worms,
into jelly.
So so they can get away with anything, but it's the believability of the characters, and that is already sorted because you know who he is. He's playing the same person, and I don't think it's going to take too much for him to kind of revert back to that role and that kind of that mindset.
He's always in Picard mode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I really don't. I mean, people could sit around for hours and speculate as to what this is going to be. I mean, what if he's like some sort of spec ops task leader, and he's like covertly running refugee
Trek Force.
Yeah, who the bloody hell knows? It could be anything, but it's an interesting call, and it's not one that I would have expected from him, to be honest.
Oh no, he said himself he thought that was it. His Star Trek days were done. So
yeah, I mean, he can't be short of cash either.
I don't.
So it's not as if he's just like if William Shatner said, "Oh, I'm going to come back and do some more Captain Kirk." I would go, maybe it's because you got nothing else. Like,
well, he had that show, didn't he?
Something about a dad.
Yeah, shit, my dad says.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah,
that wasn't good.
Flopped.
Wasn't very good.
Yeah,
but that was based on a real life. This guy used to tweet things like stupid shit that his dad said, and then it got picked up as a TV show.
Christ, is that how they pitch shows these days?
Yep.
No.
The tweets were actually very funny, but the show wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't think even Stewart could have saved that show.
I don't think they were just trying to find a Star Trek captain, to be honest. But that's just made me think, though, because I mean, in the canon, I think it was in. Actually, I think it was in First Contact that you'll be able to confirm this. Did Kate Mulgrew show up in it? Janeway.
Do you know? Was
Right.
Janeway in? Janeway wasn't in bloody First Contact.
See, I can't remember if it's First Contact or the one after that.
Insurrection.
Yeah, because she's like it's basically again in the continuity. Voyager's got home by that point, and she's promoted to be an admiral. So
I don't think
she
it's First Contact.
She spoke to Picard about something or other. So I mean that means that if he's still knocking around, then maybe she could be as well. Like imagine like them two just sort of going for a stroll through the park, talking about all their crazy adventures and things.
I don't think is Janeway. Is she still alive?
What, Kate Mulgrew?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course she is. She's in Orange Is the New Black.
I could not tell you that.
Yeah, she totally is.
Well, I'm gonna have a look now. No, there's no Janeway.
It might be Insurrection then. I can't remember. But either way, it's confirmed that she's, when they get back to Earth, she's an admiral, and obviously she's got some kind of relationship with Picard. So yeah, I mean, that's 2 shows, or potentially 3 shows if you count Deep Space Nine as well, that could all kind of intermingle with each other, and like cast and crew and things that happened in one show could, it could just be sort of like a swan song to all of them.
Possibly.
Or it could just have fuck all to do with any of them.
As long as Cisco's not in it.
I think Cisco was fine. He was fine.
I didn't like it.
I mean, it takes a bit more getting used to. I don't think it's more of a casual show because there's a lot of religion and politics and stuff going on it as well.
It's better than. Oh, what's the one with the theme song?
Enterprise.
Yeah, I didn't like that one. The guy with the big nose.
It's hits and misses really, but I don't think that show had enough time to kind of develop into anything before it got cancelled. Which is a shame because again, although if anything, it proves that you never go backwards.
Yeah.
So that's why they were going to Discovery. It's going to go back in time again. It's like stop going back in time. Clearly that didn't work with Enterprise. Just keep going forwards.
Paid off though. Discovery ain't too bad.
It's not.
I think what they were doing with that though is obviously the new films are set in the past.
Yeah, but it's also set in a different time.
No, I know it's not. They're not connected, but
yeah.
I think it should.
Oh, sort of play. It's drawing from that kind of fan base.
Yeah.
Which is fine because, again, from a business point of view, if people are mad into the films, but they maybe weren't into the shows, and maybe they don't want to get into the shows because they go, oh, that's from 30 years ago, it's not going to be any good now, is it? Or they've missed that kind of nostalgia trip from it. You know, instead of watching it when you were a kid, it was already off TV by that point. Yeah. So if that's a way of sort of like, you know, cooing people in and go, oh, look, it's like the films, you know, and then season 2, when they've got all those people on board,
here's
they go,
Picard.
okay. Well, Spock's in it, Pike's in it. So they were tickling the buttons of the nostalgia at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
So I don't know is the answer. I don't know if this could work. I don't know how it's going to work. It's really going to depend on what it's going to be about, other than just the next chapter of his life, in air quotes.
I think it needs to be more than Picard.
Well, I mean, because he's like a mad history and archaeology buff. So, I mean, what if it's him just sort of like in Indiana Jones kind of thing, just travelling from planet to planet looking for history stuff?
I'd be down for that.
Maybe so. It could be a police. It could be literally
whip.
Anything. He's got like a million. Oh, the Ferengi have got laser whips.
There you go. Can I have one? He kept one.
Maybe. I mean, they were shit because it's just a whip. I mean, at the end of the day, if you got a whip or a laser gun, which one are you going to go to?
Depends what the situation calls for.
Well, they weren't using them to swing across caverns, I'll tell you that much.
Exactly, they're not using them to the full potential. Anyway, what I was going to say was, I remember on about how good the films look and Discovery and that.
Oh, very much so, yeah.
I remember when you made me watch Star Trek, and I can't remember which one it was, but it was like the updated visual version, whatever it is, like the HD remaster of the series.
Sure.
And all the ships and stuff. It did look pretty cool and that.
Yeah.
But then it goes back indoors and it's like all cardboard and stuff. Like, wow.
Yeah.
That was incredible waste of money.
Well, the fact is, though, it's because it's all models and stuff. So, I mean, you could just take those out completely and just have a CGI scene instead, and it will look a lot better. But, you know, I do feel that they've kind of brightened up the interiors and they do look a bit better. I mean, like, I was watching a season 2 episode of Next Generation earlier, and like Picard was reading something on a computer, and then he like turned it round, and it was like clearly made out of like cardboard or polystyrene or something like that, with just a picture slapped on it. But then, like when you go, like me and Rick went to something in Blackpool where they had like loads of props and things. A few of them you were sort of allowed to touch in that. A few of them you weren't. But I mean, if there's no one there to stop you, what are you going to do?
This was a Star Trek thing, by the way, not just some place in Blackpool.
Yeah. And it is genuinely surprising when you look at them up close and you go, God, this looks terrible. Like, because it is just like MDF and ply, and it's just plaster, and because obviously that's never the focus. I mean, some of the screens are like some of the computer panels and things. They are glass and they've got paint, like the buttons and stuff. They do light up and things, and they do look cool. But obviously, the benefit of doing that sort of stuff these days is because they go, well, we can actually just put a big screen in it and program it to have these kind of visual responses when you press a certain key. So these days it would, I mean, like, and plus people have made their own transporter consoles and stuff, and they make them all out of glass, and they look amazing.
Yeah.
But when you look at the garbage they were using
that's
in the
what they had
80s.
in the days. That I mean, it's not really the same. But look at when we made Lucille.
Yeah, I mean, that, again, in a picture, you won't even really pay that much attention to it. But if you held it in your hands, you went, Christ, that feels terrible.
Yeah.
It feels like a wet chicken drumstick.
But that was literally paper mache and an umbrella.
Yeah.
And obviously paint.
But from a visual...
decoration.
Yeah. But if you were just looking at that, you'd go, oh, I get it and I see what it is, but you wouldn't be looking at it so closely. And that's kind of the benefit of those shows being shot when they were, because the camera technology and stuff was so poor as well, and the TV you'd be watching it on would be not very good.
Yeah.
It would look like it was real and it was from the future, because as soon as you get like an ultra 4K HD version, you can see every fingerprint on it. Then that's when it kind of takes it away and it looks a bit terrible.
Yeah, but that's now though. The nostalgia feeling of it still there, that you got to watch it years ago.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I would much rather see people walking through a fairly obviously plastic or cardboard set rather than walk around in front of a big green screen.
Again, depending on, I mean, like the Aquaman trailer hit a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And the other day, I noticed a lot of people commenting on about there's too much CGI and stuff. It's under fucking water in Atlantis.
Yeah, it's a city underwater. Of course it is.
There's no other way they can do it.
No.
For fuck's sake. I mean, it's the same thing again with Venom. And I'm like, he looks too CGI.
It's like, well, because you can't make a giant ripply, liquidy demon man suit.
And if you could, it would look shite.
Yeah. Like, I mean, what do you want? Do you want the Thing from the first Fantastic Four, or do you want the Thing from Fan Four Stick?
Yeah.
Like, that. I know which one looks better. And it definitely had the guy in the rubber suit.
Yeah. I will say, out of everything that's wrong with that film, aesthetic for the Thing is not one of them.
No, I think it looks fine. Yeah, absolutely.
Just the film's dog shit.
Unfortunately so, yeah. But funnily enough, though, that's kind of where Star Trek's always shined in. It's like prosthetics and makeup. Like, it's so rare, other than like maybe the original series, but again, that was like the 60s, 70s, so it can kind of be excused. But it's so rare that like any of the aliens look stupid. I mean, in Voyager, there was a whole episode with dinosaurs that had survived the meteorite that hit Earth, and they'd developed over millions of years, discovered space travel and stuff, and fucked off and left the planet. And they found them in the Delta Quadrant, and they were basically dinosaurs that evolved to the point where they looked relatively similar to us, but they were all scales and reptiles and stuff.
Like Koopas from Super Mario Brothers movie.
They look way fucking better than that. But like the makeup and stuff has always looked pretty bob on. It's
got to be better than the Rhino Police things from Doctor Who.
The Rhino Police.
Yeah, they might not have been rhinos, but they were basically alien police things. But they had basically like Triceracop from Kung Fury. But that I mean, I hate Doctor Who. I don't care who likes it. It's shit. I hate it. But
I'm gonna have a look for this.
I'll find you the clip, right? And basically, there's a hospital, and they're getting taken up into space on the hospital.
I found him.
There you go.
Judon.
The worst acting I have. Like literally, the hospital lifts up off the ground, and people are obviously like looking through the windows as they're going up. And in that situation, there's aliens in there. The hospital's going up into space. I would be literally shitting my pants. And then everyone's out the windows like, oh my god, oh no.
But these are also sort of like interns that work at the BBC.
Yeah. It's like the worst acting I've ever seen. It's so bad. Even David Tennant couldn't say that.
I kind of like their look. In sort of like the bodysuits and things. They look a bit Krogan-esque.
They look dog shit. Don't you dare compare it to Mass Effect.
It's similar kind of. They got a big space helmet on and stuff. It's not too bad.
No. Anyway, I think we'll call it there, mister.
That's fine.
I'm all carded out.
Yep, it's going to be great. I mean, I was excited for the second season.
That excited?
Yep, can't even talk anymore. I was excited for the second season of Daredevil. Fucking Daredevil.
Hey, season 3 of Daredevil's this year.
That is true, and that I am certainly looking forward to. Second season of Discovery is what I meant to say, sorry.
Yeah.
Because, again, it's going to be touching on more recognisable characters and themes and stuff, which is totally fine. But now that I know that Patrick Stewart's being accepted back into the fold, I want to see that. If you want to cancel Discovery and just give me that instead, even if it's no good, I'll probably take it.
I think a lot of people would, to be fair.
Yeah. But yeah, that'll do for me. I'm all Star Trek'd out for this particular point in time, and then I'm going to go and play some Star Trek. So I bought a new Star Trek game today because of this.
Well, if you want to see some more stuff that may or may not be Star Trek related, you can go to the website, which is www.podcastversusplayer.com or .co.uk. Follow us on Instagram at podcastversusplayer and on Twitter at podcastvplayer. And you're probably listening to this on iTunes or something, or if you're not, you might be listening to it on YouTube which is youtube.com/podcast-player. And you can check out our new IGTV channel, which is over on our Instagram page. And you can see some other shit, like this podcast will be up. We'll do some more T's and E's. There's some Far Cry Arcade that we still need to put up. We'll probably do a Final Fantasy video at some point in the future. We've got a new series called Mods and Sods, and we'll be kicking that off with Left 4 Dead 2. And there's a bunch of stuff. It's crazy. It's mental.
Yeah.
It's not that crazy.
No.
Bye.